The planet Valoria was a peaceful place, known in the outer rim of the galaxy for its music, gardens, and bright crystal towers that shined under the twin suns. The people were not warriors. They were farmers, teachers, builders, and dreamers. Their world had little defense, and they never thought they would need one. Then the sickness came. At first it was small. A few families in the western districts complained of fever and weakness. Doctors gave simple herbs, and the people thought it would pass. But within weeks, the sickness spread like fire in dry grass. Entire neighborhoods grew silent. Markets closed, schools locked their doors, and in the capital city of Vera, the chancellor walked through empty streets with fear in her eyes. No medicine on Valoria could fight the plague. The healers were helpless. Children grew pale. Elders lay weak in their beds, and even the strongest men and women fell to the illness. The chancellor, a wise woman named Saren, gathered her council. They met inside the great silver dome that stood above the city. Around the table, the leaders spoke in worried voices. "We cannot fight this alone," one said. "Our people are dying," said another. "If we do not act, Valoria will become a graveyard." At last, Chancellor Saren raised her hand. Her voice was steady, but her heart trembled. "We will send a call for help. Let the galaxy hear us. Somewhere someone must answer." The council agreed, and within hours a powerful SOS was sent across the stars. "This is Valoria. We request immediate medical aid. Millions are at risk. We are unarmed, we are unprotected, but we are desperate. Please help us." The message echoed into the void, carried on every channel, repeated again and again. The Valorians waited. Days passed. Then weeks, no reply. Hope began to fade. In the capital, families gathered by the great screens that broadcasted incoming signals. Every morning, children asked their parents, "Have they come yet? Are the doctors here?" And every evening, the parents shook their heads with sorrow. Chancellor Saren looked at the sky each night. She prayed to the stars that mercy would come. Then one morning, everything changed. Alarms rang through the city. Not alarms of sickness or death, but the long, low tones of incoming ships. The skies above Valoria shimmered as the planet's old scanners picked up signals at the edge of their system. "They are here," cried the people. "The aid ships are here." Crowds filled the plazas. Families hugged. Tears fell as the great screens lit up with shapes moving closer from hyperspace. The chancellor stood before her people and spoke with hope in her voice. "Be strong, my friends. Our saviors have come. The galaxy has not forgotten us." The screens flickered again. The incoming ships grew larger as they neared orbit. But as the images cleared, joy turned into silence. The ships were not white hospital vessels. They were not sleek cruisers of mercy, with banners of aid painted on their hulls. No, the sky filled with warships. Dark, massive, and bristling with weapons, the fleet entered orbit with a terrible grace. They moved in perfect lines, each vessel larger than the tallest mountain towers on Valoria. Armor black as night reflected the suns in harsh glints. Their cannons looked like silent thunder ready to strike. At the front was the greatest of them all, a battlecruiser so wide it cast a shadow across the plains below. Its name burned on its side in bold letters, Resolute. The people stared in shock. The plaza grew quiet. Children who had cheered now clung to their parents. Whispers spread. "Why are there warships? Where are the doctors? Did they not hear our call?" In the council dome, Chancellor Saren's voice shook as she spoke. "This is not what we asked for. We called for aid, not war. Have we made a mistake?" Her advisors were pale. Some urged her to hide, others to flee, but Saren stood tall. "No," she said firmly. "If we turn from them, we may lose everything. We must face them for good or ill." Above the planet, the warships held formation. They did not fire, they did not speak. They simply hung in the skies like silent giants watching. Finally, a message came. A deep human voice filled the airwaves. "Valoria, this is Admiral Hayes of the United Earth Fleet. We have received your signal. We are here to answer your call." The words echoed through every home, every plaza, every hall. The people did not cheer. They only stared, for the voice of the humans carried the weight of thunder. Their reputation was well known. Deathworlders, the galaxy called them. Warriors who survived storms, beasts, and endless wars on their savage homeworld. A species feared for its strength, for its fire, and for its will that never broke. And now their warships filled Valoria's skies. Some wept with fear. Others whispered that perhaps mercy had come in an armored hand. No one knew the truth yet. But one thought lingered in every Valorian mind. We expected doctors. We got soldiers. And as the great shadows of human warships drifted above their world, the people of Valoria wondered what fate awaited them. The skies of Valoria were no longer calm. Where once there had been only the gentle light of twin suns, now vast shadows stretched across the land. The human warships had taken position in orbit, their massive hulls covering the horizon like dark mountains floating above the clouds. People gathered in the plazas, in the gardens, and on rooftops, staring at the shapes above. Some prayed, others wept, but all were silent, waiting to see what would come next. In the great dome of the council, Chancellor Saren stood before her advisors. The human voice still echoed in her ears. "We have received your signal. We are here to answer your call." Her advisors argued among themselves. They misunderstood. "We asked for medicine, not soldiers. What if they came to conquer us? Deathworlders do not give aid. They only bring war." Saren raised her hand for silence. Her eyes were steady, though her heart was heavy. "We cannot know their purpose unless we speak with them. Prepare an envoy. I will meet them myself." Gasps filled the chamber. To meet humans face to face was a frightening idea. Tales of their strength, their weapons, their strange ways of thinking had traveled across the galaxy. But Saren would not send others into danger she herself would not face. A small shuttle rose from the Valorian surface, carrying Saren and two of her counselors. It was a fragile craft, meant only for short flights. As it climbed higher, the true scale of the human fleet became clear. Their ships were enormous, each bristling with turrets and strange devices, their armor black with scars of past battles. The shuttle's scanners locked onto the largest of them, the Resolute. Permission was given, and soon Saren's shuttle drifted into the shadow of the battlecruiser. A hangar door opened, glowing with guiding lights, and the shuttle slid inside. For a moment, silence reigned. The Valorian stepped onto the hangar floor, hearts pounding. Rows of human soldiers stood at attention. They wore dark armor, their visors reflecting the light, their weapons strapped to their backs. To the Valorians, they looked like statues of war, unshakable and unmovable. Then a man stepped forward. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with gray at his temples and a calm face that showed both strength and patience. His uniform bore the rank of admiral. This was Admiral Hayes. He did not raise his voice. He did not threaten. Instead, he bowed his head slightly in respect. "Chancellor Saren," he said, his voice deep but not unkind. "You asked for help. We have come." The words were simple, but to the Valorians they were strange. "Help from a fleet of warships?" Saren found her courage and stepped forward. "Admiral Hayes, we send a call for medical aid. Our people are dying from plague. We expected doctors, healers, but you have brought warships." A shadow of a smile touched the Admiral's face. "Yes," he said. "These are warships, but inside them we carry more than weapons. We carry doctors. We carry medicine. We carry food, clean water, and shelters. Our fleets are built this way because where we go, danger often follows. Aid must be protected. That is the way of humanity." Saren and her counselors looked at one another in surprise. They had never imagined such a thing, that soldiers and doctors traveled side by side, that warships could also be lifeboats. Admiral Hayes turned, and with a wave of his hand, motioned them to follow. The Valorians walked through the steel corridors of the Resolute, expecting only machines of destruction. But they passed through medical bays where human doctors in white coats prepared supplies. They saw crates of medicines labeled in dozens of languages. They saw portable shelters, clean water units, and even greenhouses filled with fresh food ready to be delivered. Saren's heart trembled. She had feared death, but she saw life. Still, her people's fears could not be ignored. She asked the Admiral, "Why do you need such weapons if you only came to help?" The Admiral's face grew stern. "Because," he said, "where there is weakness, there are always those who would take advantage. Pirates, slavers, or worse. We have learned through centuries of war and disaster, if you send healers without protection, they will be killed. If you send protection without healers, the sick will still die. So we send both, always both." His words struck Saren deeply. She began to understand. These humans were not here to conquer. They were here to guard, to shield, and to heal. But their mercy was wrapped in iron. Soon, small groups of human soldiers and doctors landed on Valoria's surface. The people trembled as the black armored figures marched into the streets, but behind them came the healers. Within hours, entire districts were turned into triage zones. Human doctors worked with speed and precision. They wore protective suits, scanning the sick, giving medicine, setting up machines that hummed and glowed with power the Valorians had never seen before. Children who had been at death's door opened their eyes again. Parents wept with joy as their families were saved. But always around the healers stood human soldiers. Their eyes scanned the skies, their hands never far from their weapons. They were calm but ready, silent guardians who formed a living shield around every medical station. At first, the Valorians feared them. But slowly they began to understand. When the soldiers stood watch, the doctors could work without fear. When the soldiers moved through the streets, thieves and lawbreakers fled. In the great plazas, the people began to whisper, "The humans came to save us. They bring both medicine and steel. They are not conquerors. They are protectors." Still, one question lingered in every mind. Why so much firepower? Who are they preparing to fight? Above the world, the human fleet remained in orbit, silent, watchful, like an iron shield spread across the sky. And though Valoria was beginning to heal, a sense of unease filled the air. Because if the humans carried such weapons wherever they went, then surely they expected danger to follow. The days after the humans arrived were filled with strange sights for the Valorians. In the markets where silence had ruled for weeks, there was now movement again. Human doctors worked alongside Valorian healers, teaching them how to use advanced tools that could scan the body and destroy sickness at its root. Children who had once been too weak to move now laughed as they ran through the streets. Families embraced one another, tears of joy flowing freely. Yet while hope returned, unease remained. High above the planet, the Resolute and her sister warships still circled like great black guardians. The sight of them was both comforting and terrifying. To some they meant safety. To others they were a reminder that humans were never far from war. The answer to those fears came sooner than anyone expected. One evening, alarms blared across the Valorian capital. The skies filled with the roar of engines. From the edge of the system, a swarm of ships appeared, smaller than the human warships but fast and sharp, painted with the crude marks of raiders, pirates. They had heard Valoria was weak. They had heard of sickness and death. They had come to steal, to enslave, and to burn. In the council dome, Chancellor Saren's advisors trembled. "This is the end," one whispered. "They will kill us all," said another, but Saren did not answer. Her eyes were on the skies where the human fleet had already moved. The Resolute lit up like a rising storm. Cannons glowed, shields flared, and human ships shifted into formation with the precision of dancers. Orders rang out in voices calm but firm. "Target incoming vessels. Shields up. Weapons ready." No pirate ship crosses the line. The first pirate squadron charged, confident in their numbers. They fired wild blasts at the human fleet, but their shots struck only shields, rippling across the armor of the massive warships. Then the humans answered. Beams of light cut through the void with surgical precision. One pirate ship after another exploded into fire, scattering debris like sparks in the dark. Within minutes, half their fleet was gone. On the ground, the Valorians watched from the plazas as the night sky lit with battle. Children clung to their parents, afraid yet unable to look away. They had never seen such power unleashed. And then the pirate ships that survived tried to flee. But the humans did not let them. Swift destroyers broke formation, chasing the raiders down, cutting their engines with pinpoint strikes. The pirates had come to hunt, but now they were the hunted. Admiral Hayes's voice carried across the comms, steady and cold. "Valoria is under our protection. Any who threaten her people will find no mercy." On the ground, human soldiers moved as well. Dropships descended like arrows, landing near the cities. Armored Marines poured out, forming defensive lines around the medical camps. Some pirates had slipped through and tried to land on the surface, but they never made it far. The humans fought with speed, precision, and discipline. Valorian citizens hid in their homes, peeking from windows as the black armored soldiers marched through the streets, their movement silent and sure. Where the soldiers passed, safety followed, and within the medical tents the doctors kept working. Not once did they stop treating the sick. Not once did they look up in fear, because they knew. Outside, their soldiers would not let harm touch them. Chancellor Saren stood on the steps of the council dome as the last pirate ship was destroyed in orbit. The skies grew quiet again, The human fleet returned to its steady watch as if nothing had happened. Saren turned to Admiral Hayes, who had joined her on the ground. She looked into his eyes and asked the question burning in her heart. Why? The Admiral raised an eyebrow. Why what, Chancellor? Why do you fight for us? We are not part of your empire. We cannot repay you. Yet you risked your lives, your ships, your soldiers for us. Why? For a long moment Hayes was silent. Then he answered with words that would be remembered in Valorian history. Because this is who we are. On Earth, we learned long ago that war and disaster never come alone. When we fight, there are always innocents who suffer. If we send only healers, they are slaughtered. If we send only warriors, the weak still die. So we send both. Always both. Our fleets carry fire and mercy. Our hands bring steel and healing. That is what it means to be human. Saren felt tears sting her eyes. She bowed her head. Then your people are more than warriors. You are guardians. The Admiral's face softened. We are survivors, Chancellor. And we want others to survive too. Over the next weeks, the sickness that had threatened Valoria began to fade. With human medicine and Valorian cooperation, the plague was beaten. The pirates never returned, knowing the skies above Valoria now belonged to Earth's fleet. When the work was done, the Resolute prepared to depart. Supplies and knowledge were left behind, enough to help Valoria stand strong again. In the final gathering at the Great Plaza, the people of Valoria came to watch the humans leave. Chancellor Saren spoke before them, her voice carried across the crowd. We called for doctors. We prayed for healers. Instead, the humans sent warships. At first, we feared them. But now we see the truth. In humanity, mercy wears armor. They fight not to rule, but to protect. They heal not to gain, but to give. They came as warriors, but they leave as allies. And today, Valoria calls them friends. Above, the human warships lifted into the sky, engines roaring like distant thunder. One by one, they slipped back into hyperspace, leaving behind only the memory of their shadow and the hope they had restored. The people watched until the last spark faded, and the skies of Valoria were clear again. But no one would ever forget. They had asked for medical aid. They had received something greater. They had received humanity itself.